Hey everybody, Drawing and Dragons. Today, doing something a little bit different. This time, I am going back and making a map. I know it's been a long time since I've made an actual, drawing map, and that's kind of what my channel is all about. So, I am finally doing that. So, what you're going to be watching is going to be me, a super sped up, super sped up version of my Deep Snake Mine battle map. My players are going to be going to this encounter, and I'll be talking a lot more about it. But the total time it took was 6.5 hours, so it is very sped up. I apologize that I couldn't really slow it down and give more in depth about what I'm doing and why, but I'll still be making sure to talk about my process, my decision making, and how I did my different things. And as usual, I'm still learning. This isn't my first map, but it's not my last by far, and so try to take it easy on me. Otherwise, sit back and enjoy. Okay, so beginning my process, I take a nice big open canvas, I color it a solid color, usually something calming to the eye, so that way it's a lot nicer. I usually do a gray, but I decided to go green this time to sort of get the grass mindset going on, because that's, what the background's going to be. It's going to be a lot of grass. So I thought that might help me. I thought that might help me get in the mindset. Now I'm doing the basic sketching, so I'm planning out where the different layers of this mine. It's sort of like a strip mine, right, where you're just taking resources. You're taking stone. Mainly they're mining stone here, and it's actually pretty big. So I intend that small path there on the left to be about 10 feet. So it's a pretty sizable mine. They're taking large stone bricks and blocks out of this, and so this is just basic planning layer. This is nothing to nail down. It's a single layer. It's super quick and easy. I'm not at all deciding where things are going permanently, and definitely not how they're going to look. And you see, I resized a bit because I realized I'm going to need more room for those tunnels. Now I begin a second layer. This is slightly more detailed, so I'm using a slightly thinner brush, but about the same size. And I'm going through, and this is a bit more detailed planning of where I want some major features, how I want some of the things to actually look. This is not the final line art layer though, so that's why I'm not being super detailed. And you'll see I get kind of lazy with some of these trees at the end there. But this is a very basic layer, and honestly, you could potentially just go with that and be functional. But we're here to do better. So now I'm going through and I'm actually doing the detailed one. These trees alone, the entire tree process of doing the outlines and then actually drawing them in and coloring them in was like 2 hours just spent on trees. But I also think the trees are the part I do the best. So when I do these trees, I sort of do these little cloud-like little bunches of lines. I sort of have them radiate around, usually in groups of three, and I try to alternate how I'm doing it. I try not to be too predictable. Try to make them sort of chaotic because, and that's how they are in real life, right? They're not all the same. They're all very different. And so I like to make sure I hand draw my trees. I'm not really the type of person to stencil them, though that would probably save me a lot of time if I just had a bunch of trees on file that I could just copy and paste in. And some of them do end up looking a little bit similar. I could have done a lot better, probably at making some of them look a little bit different, but that's okay. So I'm just going through sketching this. Meanwhile, this encounter, I should say, is going to be ogres. The players have heard that there are ogres that have taken over the Deep Snake Mine, and they have been charged by Malvolio, the city planner, to go take them out because they need that stone for the new expansion to the city. They need more large stone bricks and blocks for the city walls that they're trying to build. And so the players have been hired instead of the city planner going to the official guild. They want to hire these guys instead because they seem pretty capable, and they'll probably get the job done quicker and for cheaper than the other people would. And so now I'm like I said, I'm doing details now. The one thing you'll notice is my ramps. I've said this before in my other videos. I always like to have these little lines on them. It helps show where the top and the bottom is very clearly. So these ramps don't actually have these steps. They would want to be smooth because they're using carts to go up and down when they're hauling out stone. So just be aware that that is something that is more on the function side. Now you'll see that I'm erasing parts of the map. That's because I made a second layer. So what I did is I have my regular line art layer, and then I create a second one on top. And the second one on top, I am then erasing chunks out of, so that way I can have a special layer with just the caves, so I can fully plan out and not be distracted by all these trees and things and trying to draw over them, because that just is harder to do as an artist. And so I thought, you know what, I'll just make an extra layer, erase the areas where the caves are going to be, and then draw them separately. And now I'm adding more details like rocks and things. I think it's going pretty well. For some reason, I decided I was going to make a separate layer for each layer of cave, and I thought that was a good idea. I didn't end up using that at all. Finally, though, we're getting to coloring and painting. Coloring and painting is all about experimenting. You'll notice I try this weird thing where I'm thinking about doing like these edge shadows in a dark color, and then I just completely ditch that plan entirely. I also go through like 5 different colors of green, a couple different colors of brown for the dirt here, and I try different shades. This stone looked purple when I first laid it down. I'm like, oh my god, it looks so purple. And I realized it's because the green, the brown for the dirt were just so strong. So I had to go back and change all those colors. Then you'll notice with the trees, instead of coloring inside them, I just blotched on top. And that's because it's a lot easier. If you take a small brush size and you're trying to color inside of like 20 or 30 trees, it'll take you so much longer than if you just blotch some color down and then erase around. Because then you're not trying to fill in all the little gaps inside. It's a lot easier that way, I have found. And that's because I've drawn so many trees, and honestly, this still took me forever. This was still a long part of the process. I've zoned out for like a good hour or two. I didn't even realize I hadn't eaten dinner because I was just doing these stupid trees over and over. But it's okay because I think the trees are the part I did the best overall in this whole thing. So now I'm just sort of tweaking the color here and there, and now I'm adding a bit more tones. This is where the advanced coloring comes in. I could totally have left at the basic coloring, but I want more from my map. So I'm doing some tones, I'm doing some shadows, I'm doing some highlights as well. The stone, I tried really hard to make sure. I picture the sun is in the top left corner here, so the north east, you could say. So I'm trying to make sure that my shadows are coming in general from that direction, but I mean, oh well, if they don't. The cave entrances, I could have done little bit better on, probably make them a little bit more of a solid shadow near the edges, but oh well, we live and we learn, right? Now, these trees, the tree shadows and highlights, this is the part I'm most proud of. I think I did the best on these. I don't know. I think it's the one thing that I can firmly say as a budding artist that I have actually nailed down, that I can do some good trees, okay? Real good at those trees. The rest, though, is kind of, I don't know. Coloring in some rocks right now. Nothing too exciting. This should be a pretty difficult encounter for my players. We'll see how they handle it. There'll be some interesting curveballs for them. Okay, so for this grid, I should say, there's a special process you have to do. Essentially, you go open up the grid guidelines and you make it so you show the grid in the extras section, and then you create the pathing tool and you just draw paths down each of them, and then you just stroke path, and there you go. It's pretty easy, pretty simple, and that's really all you need to do to make a grid. And then later you can resize it, erase parts of it, and so on. It's super easy. I found the instructions online very easily. So if you need that in writing, just go Google it. It takes 2 seconds. Doing the caves, I want to make them dark, keep them dark. They should be about as dark as the cave entrances are, maybe a little bit lighter, just so that way it's visible. And here's my final map. And now the outro. And so there you saw my Deep Snake Mine map. Down the link below, you'll be able to get a version of the map free. You can go ahead and use it if you want. I'll make sure to put the regular version with the grid and with the label and all of that, and then I'll also have a gridless version. If there's interest, I'm considering making a night version in the future. It's not super difficult to make a night version, but it does take some time. Other than that, please make sure to like and subscribe. I really do appreciate it. It does help me out. It makes me feel better when people like my videos and when they subscribe. So like and subscribe. I'll be making more videos soon. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.